Alright, hello once again. This is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going through a series of video presentations based on some of the articles, presentations, whatever you want to call it, series under docs.microsoft.com. This is part of the Rankin Technical College Application and Web Development, or AWD1111 .NET Framework with Web Databases class. So far in this EF database first with ASP.NET MVC, I've gone through getting started with EF6 database first using MVC5, creating the web application and data models, creating views, changing the database, customizing the view, which brings us to enhancing data validation. I've got this and then published to Azure, and I'm finished. So as mentioned here, this part of the series focuses on adding data annotations to the data model to allow us to specify validation requirements and also to display some or do some formatting. All right. So, as mentioned in an earlier lesson, some data validation rules are automatically applied to the user input. In other words, when we went to put in a new record and if we tried putting something non-numeric in the grade, you'd get an error message. As it says here, to specify more data validation rules, you can add data annotations to your model class. These annotations, once they're added, are applied throughout the web application. So it's a one-time set it and forget it, basically. You can also apply formatting attributes that change how properties are displayed, such as the values for text labels. In this tutorial, as it says, we will add data annotation to restrict the length for first name, last name, and middle name to 50 characters. It says, however, in your web application, even though that's the way it's set up in the database, in the web application it's not set up that way. So if you put in more than 50 characters, what will happen is your program will crash. All right. We'll also restrict the grade to a value between 0 and 4, which is reminiscent of the way grades actually are. All right, so it says open up the student.cs file in the models folder. There it is. And it says that we are to add the following statements that are in yellow. Well, the first one that's here is system.componentModel.data annotations, which basically is the statement that you must add if you are putting in anything that's going to deal with data annotations. You'll notice now it's gray because we haven't done any annotations yet. All right. So as soon as we put in a couple of these, in fact, I'm going to change this so I can just grab this whole thing in here. In fact, let's just grab everything in the partial class student here. Double check it one more time. So, public student. I think I've already got that line in there, so I'm just going to grab this. Yep. So notice when I put this in, watch that data annotations. Notice it's not gray any longer. So what have we done? Student ID, nothing. All right. Last name, max length of 50. First name, max length of 50. All right. Enrollment date. I think we've done anything in there. Middle name, max length of 50. I just separated those so you can kind of see what's going on in each one of them. In the enrollment.cs, we're going to again add this. Again, you notice that that'll be gray because we haven't used it yet. And the only thing that we're adding, excuse me, is for the grade, we are putting a range in there of 0 through 4. Okay? Now, what I'm showing you here, you don't have to do this, but notice I'm busting each one of these out just so you can see, you know, kind of what goes with what. So we'll save all, and the author says, then we are to build the solution. And we'll do it a little different than the way they've done it here. So we'll try to break every rule and see what happens. Let's do a build solution. And once that comes up, which I guess it already has, we'll run the program again. Again, since we're at enrollment, we probably won't get a run. So let's jump down to views. Let's go to our index view and view that in the browser. So I'm going to come in here and attempt to create a new student. I'm going to break every rule there is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so I put about 60 D's in there. And I'm going to do it again. And I'm going to do it again down here. And for the enrollment date, okay, hello. So what do we have? The field last name must be a string with a max length of 50. The field first name must be a string with a max length of 50. The field enrollment date must be a date. The field name, middle name must be a string with a max length of 50. So it looks as though each one of those tests has worked. Now, if I come back and I go back to the list and I attempt to change one of these, the same thing is going to happen. Let's see if we can stop the run yet. Oh, we want to go to enrollment also, so I'm glad I didn't. All right. So I think that was from home. There it is, list of enrollments. All right, so the same kind of thing. If I attempt to come in here and create a new, and I'm going to put a grade in here, again, the field name must be between 0 and 4. Same thing. In fact, as soon as it saw the minus sign, it knew something was wrong here. Notice I can put a 0 in, or a 1, or a 2, or a 3, or a 4, but as soon as I get past that, boom. All right, so let's go back to our list. Again, I did this in an earlier class, but if you do click on here, you'll get a full list of the available data annotations, and there are quite a few of them. All right. Now, the next step to me is possibly the most important in here. All right. And that is talking about this metadata class. Now notice, I'm going to read a little, but I want you to see this. It says, adding the validation attributes directly works when you don't expect the database to change. However, let's face it, over time there's at least a chance the database could change. You might decide you want additional information that you don't have. You might decide that some of the information you have is not necessary anymore. It could be anything. So, as it says there, if your database changes and you need to regenerate the model class, you lose all the attributes that have been applied to that model class. All right? So to avoid this problem, as mentioned here, you can add a metadata class that contains the attributes. Then when you associate that model class with the metadata class, the attributes are applied to the model. So if you have to regenerate the database, you don't lose all the attributes that have been applied. So, as it says, we're just going to follow the steps here. In the models folder, we're going to add a class named metadata.cs. So we're going to come over to models. That's right here. Right mouse click, add class, and it's metadata.cs. All right. As you can see, it doesn't give us very much template code. So they want us to replace all the code that's in there with this. What we're doing in there is we're specifying the same stuff that we specified before. However, the difference here is that we're specifying it inside of its own class. All right. So as they mention here after this, it says these metadata classes contain all of the validation attributes we had previously applied to the model class. The display attribute is used to change the value for text labels. So this is going to look a little nicer. So right now, rather than last name run together, it'll be last name is 2 words. Rather than first name run together, it'll be first, etc. You get the idea. So Control C to copy. Let's jump back in here. Control A, Control V. All right, now we've got all that stuff put in. Now, that's not enough to do what we just did as I do a save all. As mentioned, and I'm going to pop back to the handout for a moment here. Now you must associate the model class with the metadata class. In the models folder, we have to add another class that's named partial classes.cs. So we're going back to our model class, adding yet another class that's called partial classes.cs. All right, again, not much there. We just get the shell. So we want to replace the contents with this. Not very much code in here. Maybe 10, 12 lines. Each class that's in here now, the student and the enrollment classes, are marked as being partial classes. Each matches the name and the namespace of the class that we previously had generated. By applying the metadata attribute to the partial class, as the author says right here, right there, by applying that, we ensure that the data validation attributes are applied to the automatically generated class. So if we have to regenerate the model classes, okay, because the metadata attribute, if we have to regenerate basically the database, we won't lose the attributes. All right, so I think I just copied this, but to be sure, let's do it one more time. Control C, come back into here. Control A, Control V. All right, we put it in. Let's again do a save all. And we're just about finished with this lesson. The first two today were short. To regenerate the automatically generated classes, open up the Contoso model EDMX file, right-click on the design surface, all right, and select Update Model from Database. Let's just do it piecemeal, very incrementally like they show it in here. So we'll open up the EDMX file as shown. We'll right mouse click here on the design surface and we will select the update model from database. Even though we have not changed the database, this process will regenerate the classes. So we will go to the refresh tab, we will choose tables, and click finish. All right, now we will save this file that we're working on. You notice it's changed. So we'll do a save all. And we'll do two more things. First, we will, three more, I guess. File has unsaved changes. Notice it says it's automatically changed things in our enrollment file. Do we want to reload it? I'll say yes to all. All right. Why? Well, first let's run this. So let's go back to our index. All right. And let's view this in the browser. We should see the same changes that we had before. In other words, if I come in here and I attempt to create a new student, and I come in here and still put in a boatload of these, see, I still get that, and that, and that, and that. All right, I'm going to go back to my list. I'm going to go back to the home just to prove that those changes are in there for both files. Let's go to our enrollments, we'll do a create new, and we'll try to put in here. Well, doesn't look like that one's changed. And it should have, but we'll take a quick look. All right. So this is which file? I think that's the index file. Enrollment, notice our things are gone. All the stuff we put in. Student, our stuff is gone. All right. Now, why that wouldn't have changed that for the enrollment, I'm not positive. I'm going to do a rebuild the solution. And I'm going to go back one more time. In fact, I should save all, then build the solution. Let's go back one more time. In fact, let's go to edit. No, we'll just go to the index. View it in the browser. Go back to, let's double check in enrollments. Let's try to create a new again. And we are getting our error. Okay? Okay. Let's go back to our list. So the data validations that we provided originally inside of enrollment and inside of student are now gone. Oops, there it is. They have been replaced with what we added in our partial class. All right. That pretty much is it for lesson 6. When I come back, and not tried to do this before, so this one will be really interesting. 19-page article here on publishing our MVC database first site to Microsoft Azure. Let's save what we have here. And let's run back to here. We will now close, close, and close. So we will be coming back to our last presentation, all right, which is this one right here. All right, I'll be back with that presentation shortly.